Hey, what's up guys? This is the Super Saiyan Prodigy 1221 here. I'm going to be talking about the deck list I used to compete in the Chalislime monthly that occurred this past weekend, and I was able to get top 16 with this deck. One of the biggest things that stood out to me in the online tournaments I've been competing in, such as in Luxury and the DCS tournaments that occurred this past month, I tend to brick a lot more often than usual. LCS I did decent. I went 4-0, but then just started bricking my later rounds in Swiss. And then same thing happened with DCS where I bricked like 4 out of my 7 matches in that tournament. And then I noticed that there was a guy at the DCS who was playing Phantom Knights, but he played no Dragoon and no Requiem. And that kind of motivated me to try out a build similar to his. I think his build was like 40 or 41 cards, and I think he ran way less hand traps than me. But yeah, so I wanted to try out something different. That's why I didn't do any live streams the past week. Also, I have some summer school to work on as well, so that's why I haven't been really uploading as much as I used to. I may get back into it a little bit, but I also have college coming up soon in about 2 to 3 weeks while I'm wrapping up finals for my summer school. So yeah, so let's go over the deck. So pretty much lineup is the same compared to Dragoon. BAs, tour guides, all the PK names are the same. I noticed that the guy who got second with at the DCS, he played Skarm. It took me a while to get used to this style of the deck, so I didn't have time to test out Skarm, but maybe I will, depending on how I feel about how it performs. I'm gonna try to ask him for some of his replays to see if there's any like lines of play that I'm not seeing or any combos that I don't get, but there's a little update for you guys on that. Speedroid package, so this worked really well in my testing. The Terra Top I saw a lot during my testing, but then when I got to the tournament, I did not see the Terra Top at all. In fact, I saw more of the Tekatom work. I fortunately was able to brick it, or unbrick it, I should say, majority of the time, so that was a good thing. 3 Kagamucha Knight, same as before. Danger package. The only thing is that they do conflict a little bit with the Pot of Prosperities. So you mainly want to use them as discard fodder for your Torn Scales, or if you don't open up any of your Pot of Prosperities, then you can just go ahead and use their in-hand effect then. Psychic package. Then for hand traps, one thing I would change is that since prank kids are going to rise up a lot in popularity, I would recommend putting in 3 Ash Blossoms. The ghost spells worked okay in my testing. They did okay as well as in the tournament, but I may or may not change this out. 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 1 E-Telly. These work really well with the Pot of Prosperities because it helps you deck thin. So you just go E-Telly, Rhoda, and then Pot of Prosperity for any more extenders you need. So 3 Pot of Prosperities. This was like a little bit weird for me to get used to, but I kind of saw like the rationale for it. So you can use it early and try to search out your Terratops, or you can go ahead and wait after you're done comboing off, setting up your board with your Fog Blades, your Appaloosa, and either like your Evil Swarm Nightmares or your Time Thief Redoer, and then go ahead and like help you see your side cards like Anti-Spells, Imperial Orders, Droll Knockbirds, etc. So it was really good in that aspect because since this is more of like a toolboxy version of Phantom Knights, not all your cards are going to be useful in every matchup. Like you won't need Underworld Goddess all the time, or the double Cherubini won't always come up. So it helped me like realize like some extra deck cards aren't needed, and I would much rather need an extender or a Phantom Knight name in my hand to start my engine rolling. So Called by 3 droplets, same as Dragoon. The one big difference here is in this version, the Shade Brigandine is not used. Instead, we're using Infinite Impermanence. Through my playtesting with it on Dueling Book last week, I found that Imperm is really good because I look back at some of the replays and my opponent couldn't not gamma, but like they couldn't triple tactics talents me or Herald of the Orange Light me if I were to use something like Effect Veiler in that instance. So I really like it in that regard. Hold on, I'm getting a phone call. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, I started to really see the value of Imperm and why the guy who got second at DCS played him. It can also be useful for turning off floodgates for a turn, like a there can be only one, or like Rivalry of Warlords. So I liked it in that regard. Then we got the Phantom Knight's Sword, and then 3 Fog Blades. Same as Dragoon build, and then Imperial Order. I feel like it's really necessary to have this Floodgate in, so in that way you stand a better chance against the meta, since you don't have that Omni Negate. Since you're not running Dragoon in this build, so it's really important to main it in my opinion. Then we got the side deck. We got 2 Nibiru, 4 Phantasme, 3 Draw and Lockbird. Nibiru is pretty much decent against everything that special summons like Salads, Prank Kids, Drytron. I mean, it helps you get your board wipes and have you a better chance at breaking boards going second. Dragon Link as well. Phantasme helps you unbreak your hand, get rid of any Takatam works you might have drew into, or any VA bricks, or any of your hard ones per turns Pot of Prosperities. 3 draws just for the Drytron matchup and any other heavy deck that searches a lot, like Salads. 2 Triple Tactics Talents. I wanted to maximize the consistency of this deck, and so I feel like it's better in the side for this version of the deck because you're most likely going to see like an increase of hand traps being thrown at you because your opponent's going to side them in, like Lancias, Trolls, possibly Phantasmes. So it's good to have 3 Twin Twisters just to get rid of Pandemoniums, Revolts, any other form of like disruption, Rivalry of Warlords, etc. 2 anti-spells, 1 red reboots, just extra versions of like Imperial Orders, so that way you have a better chance of beating the higher tier decks. And red reboot just to take care of like any solemn trap cards your Tri-Brigade opponent might have set for you. Then the extra deck, we got Time Thief, Doer, and Evil Swarm Nightmare. So these are pretty much dependent based on the matchup. Like Nightmare is good against D-Link, Salads, Prank Kids somewhat, depending on if they chain block their effect or not, because this can miss timing. But it's mainly good against combo heavy decks, and then Time Thief Doer is decent against Sky Striker. You can try stealing like an engage from their deck or any other type of spell cards that they won't have available to them. But it varies depending on the matchup. So games 2 and 3, you just go banish either one of these for like fodder for your Pot of Prosperities. Zeus package with Downerd worked pretty well in the tournament and also in my testing. Just having a board wipe on my turn and then having another board wipe set for my opponent while increasing my defense with some Fog Blades while I got Zeus on my field was pretty good, so I really like that. Then we got 2 Break Swords, pretty standard. Levier, standard as well. And then the one thing I changed about this version of the deck is the Underworld Goddess. I started realizing it a little bit more, but there's like this monster. My rationale was that Arc Rebellion would be sufficient enough for the Ignister matchup to get rid of their Arrival Cybers. But then I realized that they have this monster called Damari that can negate the attack of your Arc Rebellion dragon. Or they can also use the Fire monster as well. Granted, they can't destroy the... I mean, this won't work, but this is also a heads up of a play that they can do. Since this blows itself up, or if they have another Cyberse monster on field, they'll blow up their own monster. So then that way it happens in damage steps, so no replay occurs since it doesn't occur in the declaration of attack of the monster. So I feel like Underworld Goddess is good spot removal. And then I like it because it doesn't take up 2 extra deck slots in my extra deck, so more testing will come with this. I may or may not take it out in the Dragoon version of the deck that I've had a lot of success with in my Dueling Book rated matches, like on my live stream, but we'll see. Access Code Talker, it's pretty much the way you OTK with this version of the deck. You just mainly want to pump up your Rusty Bardiche with Ancient Cloak, and then Yellow Nightmare Unicorn into Access Code, so it'd be 5300 plus 2900, that'd be about 8200 points of damage. So that's your main method of OTK with this version of the deck. Then we got Appaloosa, your main boss monster of the deck, since you don't have Dragoon, so you mainly want to put up Appaloosa to negate monster effects in hand and in graveyard, and then your set Fog Blades to prevent any type of OTKs or monster effects on field from happening. Nightmare Package, these are good spot removals, helps you clear out back row before you go into your Rusty Bardiche and your bigger plays, and they also add in extra attributes in your graveyard, so you can use them as fodder for your Access Code Talker. Rusty is the boss monster of the deck. Then Double Cherubini. This was something I wanted to test out from the guy who played it at the DCS, and it didn't really come up that much in my testing or in the tournament. I think I only had maybe a few instances, like on Dueling Book and in the tournament, where I went like Cherubini on my first turn, and the graff got negated, so I just brought out, I had another dark monster on the field for an extender, so I can use it as link fodder for Rusty, and then when the turn came back to me, I would just go and make another Cherubini and dump a Seer, and then try to get the other Cherubini back, but it never got pulled off because they either Deity Crowed it or Ghost Spelled it, so I never really had any luck with this, so this may or may not be coming out. I just have to do some more extensive testing since I only played this version of the deck for about a week. But yeah, so that's the deck. It was pretty fun to play. I liked not bricking on Dragoon pieces. Pretty much my opening hands and my going second hands were fairly consistent all around throughout the tournament. I was at least given something playable, such as one of my PK names or another extender, or I always had Pot of Prosperity in my hands to start digging for a PK name or another extender so I can get my engine rolling. But this version of the deck is very interesting. Like, I can see now why the guy was successful with it at the DCS tournament, because he's been playing the game for a very long time. He's gotten multiple European regional tops from what I looked up online, and then he also got top 64 at a European Nationals before the pandemic happened. But I don't think I'm as good as a pilot as he is, considering how he knows like correctly where to hit decks at the right spots and knows a lot of lines of play each deck does. But I'm still working on that. I want to try this out maybe in LCS or another DCS tournament. But in Swiss, so the Chalislime tournament, I actually went 6-1. So I performed better in Swiss than I did with the Dragoon version of the deck previously. Because in the Dragoon version that I tried out in June, I went 5-2 in Swiss. And then this time I went 6-1 in Swiss, but I got top 16. So my only loss in this tournament was in round 7, where both me and my opponent were undefeated at the beginning, and then I lost. So, and then my opponent in this final round of Swiss ended up getting second at the tournament with Prank Kids, and then the duelist I lost to in the top 16 matchup, they ended up winning the entire tournament. So it's good though. I only lost like the people that were gonna perform the best overall, so I'm glad to say that I didn't lose to anyone who ended up ranking underneath them, so there's that. But yeah, so there's this version of the deck. I feel like it's pretty fun, gives you a lot of variety on how you can go forth about your plays. I think Zeus is definitely really good right now, considering how we're not dealing with a lot of back row decks like Altergeist, Burning Abyss, Outlich. Like they're still there, right? But like you're not really seeing a whole lot of them, if you get what I'm saying. Like they just haven't been like that representative. Um, in like my opinion from what I've seen on tournament reports online. So even though I did say I didn't really like Zeus in the extra deck discussion video I've done previously, I think since with like the meta changes, it is a decent option if you want to include it in your extra deck just to have more board control. But yeah, guys, that's the end of the video. Guys, go ahead, drop a like, subscribe, and I'd really appreciate it. So until next time, see you guys.